Welcome to 𝗖𝗵𝗵𝗺, my dear friends. We are in the lecture series of Immunology, and this is our third session where we're discussing about the antigen-antibody reactions, and of course we'll discuss about the ELISA also, right? So what do you mean by antigen-antibody reaction is that the specific binding between the antigen and its corresponding antibody is called as antigen-antibody reactions. So basically, you have got an antigen and then the corresponding antibody which is going to be there. So the binding between those antigen and antibody is called as antigen-antibody reaction. Alright. So how does this happen? It happens via a principle of lock and key. The lock, just like a lock, is having a specific key for that. Similarly, the specific antigen has got a specific antibody. A specific antigen has got a specific antibody, and they join with the help of some non-covalent bonds like hydrogen bond, van der Waals forces, ionic bond, hydrophobic bonds, etc., which I think you people know more than me. Coming on to the very important antigen-antibody reaction, that is called as precipitation reaction. Precipitation reaction means a soluble antigen is going to combine with the soluble antibody, and that leads to the formation of a visible precipitate. This is called as precipitation reaction. So my dear friends, see in this that the soluble antigen is reacting with a specific antibody, not a soluble but a specific antibody, and that leads to the formation of a visible precipitate. This occurs at an optimum, remember, this occurs at an optimum pH, optimum temperature and optimum concentration. And whenever we talk about the concentration of antigen and antibody, there is a term which is used, that is called as zone of equivalence, that is optimum proportion of antigen and antibody. Right. So what is going to happen? A soluble antigen, okay, let me write down. A soluble antigen is going to combine with the specific antibody, and they both are going to form an insoluble deposit which may settle down. So insoluble deposit, if it is going to settle down, it is called as precipitation reaction, but if it is going to float, it is called as what? It is called as flocculation reaction. And the examples are either the slide test or the tube test. So on the slide, you may have witnessed VDRL, which is an example of precipitation reaction. That means a precipitate is going to get formed and that will be visible to you. So slide we have got VDRL test, and on tube we have got Khan test. Both of these are actually for the syphilis only. So this is the importance of precipitation test. Coming on to a very important concept of what is prozone, what is postzone, and what is the optimum concentration. So my dear children, please understand that prozone means that antibody is more than the antigen, whereas postzone means the antigen is more than the antibody, and optimum concentration means antigen is equal to antibody. That leads to a lattice formation. Now lattice formation and all these things you have to just memorize, no need to go into the detail, but please come into the detail of prozone and postzone. So sometimes it happens that the antibodies are more than the antigen, so we will see less amount of precipitate being formed and the result will be negative, but that's not a true negative, that's a false negative, my dear friends. So you get to have some false negative results if there is less precipitate form, and that happens if the antibody is more than the antigen. That means we are in prozone. Whereas in postzone, the antigen is going to get more than the antibody, and all these things you can especially see, for example, in Alex gel precipitation, okay. So, precipitation you know, and the example is Alex gel precipitation, and one more is going to be Ascoli's precipitation, So, my dear friends, please comment down in the comment section and let us know what do we use the Alex gel precipitation for, alright. So, before we come ahead, I have got one or two more concepts. Let's understand about them. One is called as neutralization, just like precipitation reaction. One is called as neutralization reaction. So, what are the examples of neutralization reaction? Nagler's reaction, and in fact the ASO titers. So, both of them are ASO titers. So, both of them are seen in the neutralization reaction only. Similarly, there are some new methods, for example, ELISA, Enzyme-Linked Immunosorbent Assay, Enzyme-Linked Immunosorbent Assay, okay. So, these are the new methods which have been employed. Coming on to the next one, that is the agglutination reaction. What happens in agglutination reaction is that the antigen is going to, the particulate antigen is going to combine with the antibody. So, now the antigen is particulate, that means the antigen is going to be insoluble. So, then insoluble antigen is going to combine with the antibody, and obviously a visible clump is going to get formed, right. So, this is more sensitive than precipitation. For example, Vidal test, 𝗲𝗵𝗿𝗺 test and blood grouping we do for what? We do for agglutination. Nowadays, it's a key word for all the girls, they say 𝗏. So, what is this 𝗏? A for agglutination, W for Vidal and W for 𝗲𝗵𝗿𝗺 test. Now, we will discuss about a very different concept. Actually, this concept is related to precipitation reaction only, but since now you are aware of what precipitation reaction is and what agglutination reaction is, let me just take you through this very important concept of precipitation reaction. Now, you can perform the tests in, okay, so you can perform the tests in either a test tube or you can perform the test in a slide. So, if you are performing a test in the test tube, the movement possible is only in one direction. That is why we call it as one dimension. So, one dimension means you are carrying out the test in a test tube, alright. And if you are doing it on a slide, that means the movement can happen in two directions. That means dimension, okay, one dimension means test tube and two dimension means that it is a slide on which you are taking the test, alright, precipitation test. Now, for example, let's understand. For example, in the Oudin test, what happens is, this is your test tube, alright, and this is your antigen which you have given, this is your antibody which is there, right, and this antigen is going to come to, alright, okay, what I'll do, I'm covering this entire test tube with the antibody, and here I am applying the antigen. So, what is going to happen? There is a precipitation which is formed here. Why? Because this antigen, the black antigen, moved towards the antibody. So, the movement was only in the one direction. That is why it is one dimension. Why? Because it is test tube. The movement is only one direction. That means the diffusion is in the one direction. Similarly, if I do, okay, similarly, for example, in the same tube, if it would have been here, that means the antigen has also moved, the antibody has also moved. So, this was one dimension but two diffusion, and similarly you can expect from the slides also, okay. But this is not important. What important is, what are the names? So, in exam how they give you, they give you single dimension, single diffusion. What is the name of the test? So remember, Oudin test. So if you are having I and N, IN is similar as ON, so IN is equal to ON, so ONE1. That means whenever you are having 1, that is IN, that is Oudin test. Similarly, 𝗲𝗲𝗵𝗺 means O for 1, that means one dimension, and 𝗵𝗺 is just like one more, so 1 plus 1, that is one more, so 𝗵𝗺 means 2, so it is one dimension and 2 diffusion. Next one is going to be Mancini test. How to remember Mancini? Please remember, Mancini is equal to 21 and ouch means what? Oh my god, ouch. Ouch is just a painful word. Where you see all over you have got double stranded people, you will say ouch. So if there is double stranded people everywhere, you will say ouch. That means 2 and 2. So then you will say ouch. Otherwise 21 is M. So why I have told you this 21M? Because if you know that the legal age of a man to marry in India is 21, this is my trick to remember Mancini. That means 2 and 1 is going to be there, right? So this was about the precipitation reaction in toto. Next comes the complement fixation test. That means antigen and antibody complexes, they are going to fix the complement. For example, starting the classical method. I know it is difficult to understand right now. Don't worry, I will teach you in detail what does complement fixation test means. Okay. Coming on to the next important part of this lecture, that is ELISA, called as Enzyme-Linked Immunosorbent Assay. So what happens? Antibody or antigen which is labeled with an enzyme is going to have a substrate reaction and it is going to show a color change. For example, if we talk for the Sandwich ELISA, so let me take you through the example of Sandwich ELISA here. Alright, so what is happening? This red one is ABC. ABC means a coated antibody. This one is a coated antibody already in the beaker. So what I am going to do, I am going to add this antigen from above, from the patient sample. I am going to add an antigen, and once I am giving that antigen, this antigen is further going to be acted upon by this green color antibody, which is an enzyme-linked antibody. Enzyme-linked antibody means it has got an enzyme with it, which has the power to convert some substrates into the product, and once these substrates are converted into the product, they are going to show the color change. So if the color change is happening, that means this antibody can come or can react with this antigen, and that's why the color change is happening. You got it? So because the color change has happened, because this antibody has attached to this antigen, that is why the test is called positive. And why it is antigen is combining with antibody? Because this antigen was holded by this antibody. That's why all three components are necessary to say the test is positive. That means first of all, the coated antibody should hold the patient's antigen. Next, the patient antigen must be having the action on the enzyme, that the enzyme is activated and the substrates are going to get changed into products. Then only the test will be positive. But can you see an antigen which is there sandwiched between the two antibody? Yes, that's why it is called as Sandwich ELISA. But for example, directly if you are adding the antibody and there is an enzyme which is converting some substrate into the product and then the color change is happening, then what it will be called? It will be called as direct ELISA, which is there for antigen detection. Similarly, for indirect ELISA is for the antibody. And which is the enzyme used? Alkaline peroxidase and horseradish peroxidase, my dear friends. Coming on to blotting technique, so you have got Western blot. Alright, so simple, very simple trick. In North India, people love to eat roti. In South India, people love to eat dosa. in western parts of the country or in western parts of the world, people love to eat pizza. What does that mean? Remember, northern blotting, my dear friends, is for RNA. Southern blotting is for DNA. Western blotting is for protein. Alright, easy to remember? Yeah. So it is used in HIV confirmation. Next, you have the radio immunoassays also, just like antigen antibody labeled with some radioactive isotopes as well, which can show you the positive reactions. So why are you going to use it? What is the use of antigen antibody reaction? It is in diagnosis of infection, it is in hormonal assay, it is in detection of autoimmune disease, blood typing, and even the compatibility testing also. Alright. So these 7-8 reactions, my dear friends, are very important. We, I think, missed the immunofluorescence, where a fluorescent dye is going to be there for the antibody, and it is going to show its fluorescence when it comes in contact with specific antibody, which is used in virus detection and autoimmune diseases, right? So these are all about the antigen antibody reaction and ELISA. So yes, thank you so much. So I know that our class can't end without a mnemonic. So this is the mnemonic. So see, blood typing compatibility testing, autoimmune disease is going to be there, and hormonal assays is going to be there, and some infections are also going to be there, right? So how to remember? Please remember, 𝗲𝗵 is the mnemonic for that. What is 𝗲𝗵? 𝗲𝗵 is a name. So B for blood, A for autoimmune, H for hormone, and I for infections, right? So thank you so much for watching our video. I just hope that you liked it. So make sure that you comment in the comment section and give a good feedback. Thank you.